Hello and welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code STOVE15. You'll get 15% off your purchase. Well, it's plenty of things going on in the football landscape this week. I'm Vince Stover, joined as I am every week by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, football season is winding down. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. Like you said, it's the games are winding down, but still a lot going on everywhere. And of course, a lot picks up right after the season. But this is exciting this is what the teams work for all year. Excuse me. And now, we get to the NFL playoffs, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So, of course, college football, the game's wound down. Senior Bowl is next week. So things still going on there. We'll talk about college a little bit later. The NFL, let's talk about the games first. We're down to 4 teams left. And so one game's kind of anticlimactic, I feel like, while the other one is not. So let's start with Sunday's game, early game. The Patriots at the Broncos. The Patriots did a fine job of handling the Texans last week. The Broncos come up with a huge win over the Bills, but they lose their quarterback towards the end of the game. And so the Broncos now hosting the AFC Championship game, but they're doing it with Jared Stidham as their quarterback. Patriots, of course, Drake May leads the way there. Dad, New England is a 4.5-point favorite on the road this week because of that Jared Stidham injury, or Jared Stidham being the starter for Denver. Your thoughts on New England and Denver?
Well, I think New England. It makes sense that they're the favorites. It's a shame when people get injured, and I hated that the quarterback got injured, but it really takes the luster off, the AFC Championship game in some ways. From there, I did a little thinking back. I can remember, old enough to remember, I guess, all the Super Bowls, and there was 2 or 3 backup quarterbacks, maybe more than that played in the Super Bowl, and at least a couple that won Super Bowls. So that can happen, but it's definitely not the norm. And this would have been a very intriguing game, without that injury. And maybe it still will be. I don't know. Denver, has a great coach. He's done a great job there, turning things around quickly. They have a great defense. But New England really has been a surprise and been strong all year. So I would think New England, that's who I would pick to win. I still have to scratch my head if Jared Stidham is in the Super Bowl. But like I said, when I think back, there's been things like that's happened. So
yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 backup quarterbacks have started a Super Bowl. Not all of them came right before the Super Bowl. Of course, Nick Foles is probably the most recent one that we have, that won with the Eagles. But others have took over the starting roles and ended up going into Super Bowls there as well. So it's definitely happened before, but this one seems a little out of reach for me, for Denver. And you hate to see it at this point in the season. You just absolutely hate to see it. A huge win for Denver last week against Buffalo, and now they're kind of limping in. Could they win? Yes. Would people be excited about a Jared Stidham Super Bowl? No. And so it's like, at this point, I want the Patriots just to win because I want the most complete teams in the Super Bowl. And so 4.5-point favorites on the road. Yeah, I don't think New England will have an issue here. And I don't think that they'll come into this game, loose or not ready because it's a backup quarterback. I think Vrabel will have them ready to go, and they'll be taking care of business this week in Denver. Then you've got the Rams and the Seahawks, and of course, division foes. Um, huge game on the line. Matt Stafford versus Sam Darnold, and Stafford's been there, done that. Darnold's trying to get there at this point. Seahawks have been great all season. Dad, how do you feel about the Rams and the Seahawks? Seahawks are 2.5-point favorites at home against the Rams this week. How do you feel about this game?
Well, this should be a really good game. Two good teams both have played well, really all season. I said before the season started, the Rams were a scary team to me, and they've stayed that way. You weren't as big on them, but you did qualify it with if Stafford stays healthy, and he has. So they're good. They're the coach. They've been there. They've got players that have been. I think Seattle. It's a great story for parity in the NFL. I think people thought they'd have a decent year. Even our friends that are Seahawk fans, I don't believe ever said, "Oh, we're going to be in the Super Bowl." So now maybe in the last month or so, but not before then. So I'll have to go with the Rams on this one, just because. I think they have experience, and when they're on their game. But Seattle's defense is really unbelievable. And Sam Darnold, this would be a real chance for him to vindicate a lot of things if he takes a team to the Super Bowl, which he easily could. It would not totally disappoint me. As a Packer fan, I have really bad memories about Seattle, but it was a different coach. It was a different time. So we can kind of get past that. The Rams, again, I think I'll pick the Rams in this one, but, the NFC should look good in this.
Yeah. So back on November the 16th, the Rams defeated the Seahawks 21-19. That one was in LA. Then they rematched again on December the 18th. And in overtime, the Seahawks won that one 38-37 in overtime. So really close games both times. I think it plays in the Seahawks' favor that they did lose one. I don't like it when you sweep a team in the regular season and have to play them a third time in the playoffs. So I like that they've split in the regular season. At home, the atmosphere is going to be phenomenal. The Rams, they beat Chicago, but it wasn't dominating. They didn't, the defense played really, really well. But that being said, I'm going to go Seattle in this one, being the home team. I think that Darnold has enough experience. Their offense has been really, really good. They're down a running back. Charbonnet got injured. He's done. But the defense has been so good. If Darnold can just come in and not throw interceptions, if he can just play a clean football game, Seattle wins this game. I think they win by a touchdown. But nonetheless, I've got Seattle. You've got LA. We both have New England going forward as well. I do not look forward to a Seahawk-Patriot rematch where we will lead into this whole replay of the interception at the goal line and all of that kind of stuff for a couple of weeks. But it'll all work out in the end. And so I'm okay with it when it all comes down to it. And just the way to rub it in the Vikings' face a little bit by simply having Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl, sitting here at the same record pretty much he had last year for Minnesota. It would be poetic justice for all those Minnesota Viking fans out there as well. So it'll be a good time there also. All right, let's talk about the coaching carousel. Moments ago, news broke the Baltimore Ravens have hired Jesse Minter, the Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator, as their new head football coach. That was the name that we slotted in from day one of the John Harbaugh firing, and just a perfect fit there for Baltimore with Jesse Minter. So now We've got the Titans. They selected their coach, Robert Saleh. Then the Falcons went with Kevin Stefanski. The Giants, John Harbaugh. The Ravens, Jesse Minter. And Miami goes with Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator. So we now sit with Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Las Vegas, and Arizona still looking for head football coaches. We've got to imagine that a couple of these teams, I'm assuming, are waiting for one or two guys off of these four teams that are currently playing. Clint Kubiak is a popular name right now. The Seattle offensive coordinator is probably the most pressing name that is currently out there. Thomas Brown from New England did interview with the Cardinals. And then I'm trying to think. I think the defensive coordinator for Seattle interviewed for Cleveland as well. So there's a few guys out there right now. Los Angeles' defensive coordinator has interviewed several places too. So, let's see what shakes down this week. And by Tuesday, we could have a few more of these spots filled possibly. We've seen a few people drop out of the Browns race, so I'm guessing they have their person pretty well lined up, I would think, just the way that everything's kind of happening and moving right now. But we will see, Dad. Your thoughts on, let's talk about the Buffalo situation that happened after our show. Right? I don't think Buffalo was open last week when we came on. Your thoughts on the Buffalo Bill job being opened with the firing there of their coach?
Well, it's definitely one of the top jobs that came open out of these 10, because of the quarterback and a lot of different things. They have a new stadium coming. They have quite the fan base. And they stuck with McDermott for a long time. So I don't know that there's a short leash there necessarily. It'll be real interesting to see who they get. You would think they have somebody in mind off of these teams here. But like I said, like you said, when these games get over, even the teams that win, the coaches can interview, after this. So things should head in directions. A lot of coordinators are being hired, and several coordinators, again, I think will be interviewed and hired after these games, potentially also. So a lot has taken shape there. I think Mentor was a good hire for Baltimore. I don't know. You have some more inside sources, with Buffalo maybe of who they're looking at. Is it the offensive coordinator, at Seattle? Is it a defensive guy, from the Rams? You got the defensive coordinator from Denver that people are looking at also. And there are still plenty of other names out there and plenty of people who have interviewed at places. Yeah. Has Buffalo had anybody in for interviews yet? I would assume they have.
Yeah, they have. They in-house, Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator. They've also brought in Brian Daboll, who was their offensive coordinator, then coached in New York. And he's got a job on the table waiting for him in Tennessee as the offensive coordinator, but he's waiting to see if he gets a head coaching job first. So Daboll's that way. Raheem Morris is that way. He's got options, but he's waiting to see if he gets a head coaching job. Cliff Kingsbury as well. There are guys out there, that are waiting around. So Vance Joseph is an interesting one. I think there's a good chance that he gets a job here real soon. I have to believe Clint Kubiak is one of these jobs. The Browns doesn't make sense just for what they have. I don't see that. The Raiders make sense, I think, and the Bills could make sense. But I think the Bills are going to have to go with somebody that Josh Allen likes, because everything that Buffalo has done since firing their coach has been an absolute just disaster, dumpster fire. Everything the GM says, everyone's just in shock. Everything the owner says, everyone's going, why are you talking? So I think it has to be Daboll or Brady in Buffalo, just because they're going to have to appease some players in the locker room after what's been done so far. Pittsburgh's an interesting one. Brian Flores signs with Minnesota, re-signs there as the defensive coordinator. So that leaves basically Anthony Weaver or possibly Mike McCarthy or possibly one of these other guys that are still in, Vance Joseph, Clint Kubiak, those kind of guys as well. Cleveland, I don't know what Cleveland's doing, Dad. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're waiting on. I still feel like Jim Schwartz makes the most sense for them, but I don't. The fact they haven't hired him yet makes me say that they're not going to, because there's no reason why they couldn't have hired him by now. Raiders, the Raiders, you look at Tom Brady being very involved in this hiring process, so Clint Kubiak makes sense from that angle. Vance Joseph makes sense, that veteran. A coach that, a lot of respect. He's in the division, and it's a tough division, so he's already there and knows it. That's interesting too. Davis Webb, by the way, quarterback coach, offensive guy there in Denver. Buffalo's talked about him. He's interviewed for the Raiders also, so that's an interesting one to watch there as well. And then the Cardinals, another team that I don't really understand what they're doing. Vance Joseph makes sense there too, but it feels like they've waited a little long. So we'll see what happens with some of these guys there as well. Okay. Anything else on the coaching front you want to discuss?
No, and again, there's a lot going on with the coordinators, and that'll all take shape too. And that really gets affected when the head coach gets hired, because the new coach is going to, could bring people with him, have people, that even lined up, to come with him, like you talked about, Dayball in Tennessee and things like that. So I think things will happen fairly quickly in the first 2 or 3 days next week. And then 1 or 2 teams will be left sitting there scratching their head, trying to figure out exactly what to do.
For sure. All right, then let's go to college football. Like I said, Senior Bowl starts up next week, all week long. Lots of fun stuff will be coming out of Mobile, Alabama. Always fun. Some really top-tier players going to be down there this year. So a lot of fun's going to come from that. But the college football season concluded with a phenomenal college football championship game. Indiana and Miami. Indiana gets the win 27-21, sealing it on an interception on a late drive there by Miami. What a story. Indiana undefeated, first college football championship in their history. Signetti's done great things for that program, and people don't talk about it enough. I think Tom Allen did great things for that program too. To get them, not to get them to where they are now, but to kind of level it up a step so that when Signetti came in, he had something, more to do with it. So Signetti's been great. Mendoza's been awesome. The defense has been incredible, and I'm really glad they got this championship this year, Dad. Your thoughts on Indiana, Miami, how the college football season ended?
Well, like I said, it was a very great football game. We've talked earlier. I think Miami being in it proves the value of having a playoff. Yeah. There's still a lot of talk in the next couple of years. How many teams will they expand to? Yeah. The SEC and the Big Ten have different feelings on that, and we will see. It'll still be. Indiana did a great job. Their coach did a great job. It'll be interesting, to see how college football moves along, because Indiana winning, had a lot to do with the way college football has changed. There's no doubt about that. I think he's a good coach. I think, he could take a lot of teams and do well with them. I heard on a radio program today, a Big Ten coach talking, and they asked him on a team that is not doing real well right now, and asked him about, the portal and all that type of thing. And he brought out a couple statistics that, either I guess I knew, but it didn't really hit. One is, and like you talked about, the portal's going crazy. Well, there's 7,000 players in the portal. That's basically half of all the players involved in college football.
Yeah.
So that really changes things there. They were talking to this guy about, recruiting in-state and recruiting freshmen. And he said, we're working through that because you really have to think, how much time can you invest in someone that may just be there for a year? And what's the age difference?
Yeah.
He said that Indiana, their players on their team averaged between 24 and 26 years old. That's a lot different than the day when you played with 20 to 22-year-olds predominantly. So that's that has changed also, and they keep giving people more eligibility,
Right.
and things like that. So you just don't know. I don't take anything away from Indiana. They didn't do anything wrong from there. But I think once everybody steps back and looks at this, it will help everybody in college football see, okay, what, is this how we want to continue? What do we need to do? What can we do from this standpoint? But again, it was a great championship. I like the idea of having the expanded tournament and, the teams that were able to move right through it. And again, I think it only helps Indiana's championship because they didn't play just one game and go to the championship. They marched right through people. And I think that helps you feel good about the national champion.
Yep. And just to clarify a few numbers, so over 10,000 players in the portal. And Indiana's average age is 23 this season. And so, and that's the point. 5th year, 6th year guys that are playing for Indiana. But the portal, NIL, it all has been a positive thing for Indiana. We would not have seen this if it were not for the portal and it were not for NIL. The question still is how can we fix the portal? The portal's a bigger issue than NIL at the moment, but they go hand in hand as well. Things have to be figured out. They're going to have to make some adjustments somehow to all of this stuff. But, Indiana, a great story, a lot of fun. And now our attention turns to the NFL playoffs and the NFL draft. And we've got tons of draft content right now up on our YouTube channel, the Sports Stove YouTube channel. I've got the, tomorrow we'll drop our 5th team preview. We're going pick by pick through the draft, basically. So we've got 5 episodes up tomorrow morning. Friday morning will be the 5th episode there, where we've gone through the first 5 teams in the draft. Just quick little 10 to 15-minute episodes. And talking about the draft, we have player rankings, we have positional needs, all kinds of stuff over there. So go to the Sports Stove YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Check out all those videos. We sure appreciate that as well. Let's see here. Dad, our sponsors, Righteous Felon Jerky, they've been with us a long time now. And we love Righteous Felon. Phenomenal jerky, phenomenal flavors, phenomenal texture. The packaging, the marketing's incredible. They do a great job with all of that. So if you haven't tried them out yet, go over to righteousfelon.com, and at your checkout, make sure you use the code STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase each and every time there at righteousfelon.com. All right, Dad, anything else you want to mention or bring up?
Nope, I think that'll do it, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll have most of our coaching things filled next week, and we'll be getting ready for the big game. Hard to believe. This is the 60th Super Bowl. So anyhow, and they're only going to get bigger and bigger.
I know all you care about is the halftime show, but we will.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're got a week away, but
Yeah.
But hey, we can talk about it for 2 weeks. Everybody else will. So
That's right. That's right. All right. That's it for today's episode. Follow us on social media at Sports Stove. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow wherever you listen to podcasts, the Sports Stove Football Show podcast as well. All right. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.